Thank you. Evening, people. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming across. I've got Cookie with me, Ivan, James, Taz, in no particular order. Cheers for coming over. Thanks for joining us. And I'll just introduce everybody. Evening, Cookie.
Hello.
Good. Cheers, Ivan. Ivan's first time of joining us. Hopefully he can input on something. If not, he can just listen.
Hopefully. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
You're welcome, mate. And thank you. I've just got a newcomer come in. Good evening, people. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming across. I've got Cookie with me, Ivan, James, Taz. What's going on? It was me that. Sorry about that. We just got Mr. Ginger Gunner joined us for the first time.
Ginger Gunner.
Hi, gents. How's it going?
A fellow ginger.
Very ginger.
I forgot where I was now. Evening, James. Thanks for joining us.
No props.
Stevie, thanks for joining us. You alright, mate? Evening. Sorry, Stevie. And we've got Taz in the Tracy. Thanks for joining us. I'll just throw it straight out to an open room if anybody wants to bring anything up.
Go, Ivan.
I'm off.
Yep. Ivan, you're the guinea pig, you're up first.
You can spot for a mile off, can't you?
Mr. Ginger Gunner.
Oh, well, thanks a lot. Welcome to the Ivan Show. So what about this neo-Ludditism then? What do we think about that? Do we think that they are shoving us down two factions of, you know, new Luddites versus the absolute transhumanist techno dicks? What do we think? Go on, Cookie. Put your gloves on. Let's have it.
No, I agree with you, mate. I think they are. I know you're asking it as a question, but it's a bit rhetorical, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it is in this
reference.
Yeah,
I can't remember how many years ago it was now, several years ago, I think, knocking on. There was an article on BBC, and I think they did a little short sort of documentary about it as well, talking about the classic H.G. Wells kind of idea of a split in humanity, where you end up with the Morlocks and the Eloi, but they represented it more as kind of like a really fantastic, intelligent superhuman, you know, the Ubermensch, versus the stunted, retarded, moronic slave race. That was the way they presented it. But as Peter pointed out when we was on Kip's channel previously, it is a utopian ideal that they're trying to reach towards. But the problem for me is the fact that they want to reach towards that. I don't want that shit. Thank you very much. I don't want to chip up my ass and all that crap that goes along with it. It gives them far too much control over everybody else. Yeah, that's why I'd shout against it, even though I would not in any way define myself as a Luddite. I'm not a Luddite at all. I've got a lot of primitivist leanings in the sense that I think people should be connected to what is required for normal existence, the basic needs of your existence. Everybody should at least comprehend how that is done, even if they don't actually practice it directly themselves. But to push us all the way towards that kind of splitting to create a nice little utopia, a neo-Babylon for themselves, and have everybody else as neo-Luddites outside the gates. I think they are, definitely.
Zeitgeist.
Well, definitely. I mean, that's what turned me onto it. You know, you see Zeitgeist and you think, come on, circular bloody Venus project. What do you take me for? You know, I'm turning that bloody kip now. I think the thing is, we were on about it earlier, kind of about decentralization. You know, it's turning. It's not abandoning. Sorry, I've had a few whiskeys. It's not abandoning a technology that works. You know, I mean, the steam engine from where I'm up, from where I am up here, there's plenty.
People, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming across.
Where's your Pete?
Ivan, James, Pam. Is that me?
Aye, it should be. You've done something.
It's just come back on its own, that.
Twice in one evening, you're sacked.
I don't know what's going on, mate. That was it was on mute, and on the drop bar at the bottom, and it's just popped up and opened up again on its own.
Kip does it all the time, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's a ghost in the machine, reminding you who's in charge.
It shows that we're human and nothing's, what do they call it, rehearsed. We are actually live human beings and not robots. But sorry about that, yeah, carry on.
Sorry, yes. I was going to say, I think it's about not abandoning a technology that works and not progressing for the sake of it. I mean, I suppose steam, from where we are, in terms of steam traction, you can dig the coal out of the ground, shove it in a firebox, throw some water at it, and have a train that works. But if you move to diesel, you've got this centralised system. You've got to drill it out of a rack somewhere and stick it in a thing and refine it and move it over here and put it in a truck and drive it up to the train yard and pump it into the train and so on. So if a technology works, why move away from it? And I think we're getting to this stage where they're turning it into a want, aren't they, rather than a need. And we've transcended the needs and we're well into the wants.
We're far beyond the needs. I would argue, in the sense of energy production, dependent on how much people actually desire. That's, as you say, it's down to desire. It's part of the consumerist contract. You know, we will present you with this ever more plastic Hollywood kind of dream world, but to have it, you have to go through this consumerist cycle, which means you're pursuing desires. You don't really need that, all that crap that comes along with it, but people are pushed to it, so that therefore enables the rest of the machinery that goes along with it. Yeah.
I mean, I worked in electronics, I still do, and I worked for a very large electronics manufacturer. And planned obsolescence was actually, people talk about it as if it's some conspiracy theory, and I actually sat there and created thermal models for set-top boxes. Oh, I've given it away. To shorten the life. So you could say this box will definitely work for 5 years, it will definitely work for 3 years. And I did it. It's not some theory, it's a bloody fact. Yeah. And even down to simulating underneath your TV cabinet, them little boxes underneath with the doors in the front. We simulated that and the temperatures inside that with the aging of the components to simulate the end of life of that product.
It's been going on since the Industrial Revolution. They found out that a light bulb could last 100 years. They said, oh, we can't have that because that's too long. We'll have to shorten it. So they just kept shortening the lifespan because you keep having to buy.
They got to that 1,000 hours, didn't they? It was 1,000 hours they ended up with.
It was a lot.
Well, I think the Soviets had. I'm pretty sure it was the Soviets that had, because it didn't fit their model. They had light bulbs that lasted for thousands and end of hours.
Aye.
Whereas, obviously, in the capitalist, for want of a better word, countries, we got stuck with 1,000-hour stuff. Now we've got compact fluorescents to cope with, which are. I mean, that's just a bloody joke, isn't
it? Slightly sort of backstepping, but just as a note of interest, have you heard of a Fresnel lens?
Yeah, Fresnel lens, yeah.
Yeah. Applying that steam power, this is something where I think it's not only a matter of not restricting the advance of technology or the development of new technologies. It's looking back at the past and seeing whether actually something that we used to use was more efficient and beneficial. So, for example, things like that breach the consumer cycle. So you can design something that lasts 50 years because that's the best that you can design it to be. And that's what you make, not the consumerist bullshit version that's planned to break down after a while. If you can set up an energy generation system that can generate steam power for an almost limitless amount of supply, you know, in the sense of you're not burning tons of fuel and whatever, then why wouldn't you? The only reason you wouldn't is that classic quote of, well, I can't stick a meter on it, can I? Therefore, it's not allowed. Again, the consumerist problem. This is where I think the kind of controlled opposition effect of something like the worst aspects of the zeitgeist ideals, then they're not helping us break down that controlling structure that is enabled by a combination of the consumerist system and the artificial scarcity and the planned obsolescence, economic manipulation, blah 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 blah. You know, if we can dissolve that, and this again is why I reference the decentralization, open source kind of attitude. If you could download off the net a blueprint that enabled you to build such an item yourself at home, and it wasn't too overly resource requirements or technical parts that you couldn't make yourself, you know, it was readily made at home, then why wouldn't you? And why wouldn't you want the rest of the humanity to be able to do that along with you? Again, the breaching of that consumerist trap, the cycle that you get stuck in. Sorry, waffling quite a bit. Carry on.
Have the guys that know the Area 3D print machine, have they not put that online?
You've read my bloody mind, kid. Look how shit 3D printers are. Now, I've looked at them, and it takes them about 4 hours to produce something about 2 inches high on average. I mean, there might be people out there correct, but that's roughly in one colour. I've used them on an industrial perspective as well, and we ran something over a weekend to produce something that was 6 inches by about 3 inches. And the crap. And we've got things like Thingiverse, and it's an idea that I think what they're waiting for is a suitable business model where you know, they can start to charge for these things, and a way of monetizing it more, and then the machines will instantly speed up. I mean, I'm going to put this out there right now. The way in which one of the principal methods is extrusion, whereby they melt plastic and just spunk it onto a plate, and the thing moves backwards and forwards and lays out layers of plastic as it moves around. If we were to use something from a bubble jet type perspective, whereby you'd have an A4 size bubble jet array, for example, and you were to extrude thousands or not, as you could turn them on and off like a bubble jet printer does, and lift the tray up simultaneously, you'll be able to create something in probably a few minutes. If you could create, you know, thousands of simultaneous extrusions by turning them on and off like little valves, if you can imagine that, little pinpricks of extrusion or not, you know, as you build the model up, as it lifts up, instead of having an individual head that moves backwards and forwards, that'd speed up immensely. It's obvious, but no one's doing it. So
No, carry on, mate. I was thinking out loud more than anything. I've got to try and stop, like, letting the words out.
I'm struggling to hear everybody without shouting and screaming that's around my house at the moment.
I just say hello to everyone.
Hi, John. Joining us, mate. I did actually see you come in. I was just letting them have the say before I welcomed you in, mate. Thanks, buddy. Sorry, Ivan, what was the thing? I don't really care, anyway.
Can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can hear you, yeah. Just saying you can carry on, John, if you, Ivan, if you like.
Well, I don't know if anybody got... It was pouring out of my brain like some explosive diarrhea, but I was trying to...
That's what came across to me, sorry.
What explosive diarrhea that reached Scotland ain't half bad, is it? Right. My point was that 3D printers are shit, and I think there's a way to speed them up overnight, quickly. And if they were to become something that we could all buy, you know, I think looking for a way to monetize them before we're allowed to have them in a proper, effective way. 4 hours to make a small statue 3 inches high is not good enough.
Right, I get you now.
That's all I'm saying.
Right. They know that they've got this technology, they just don't want to get it out to the public. That's what it's all about.
Well, it's happened we should bloody break away and go. Has anybody done aquaponics? Has anyone done how sensible? Have you done out cookie with aquaponics? I've already mentioned it before.
I've never actually tried building anything. No, I've read a little bit about the basic principles of it and how you can integrate it into hydroponics and stuff like that. You can basically create enclosed systems.
Adam, what are you doing then? That what missing? I had a mate a while back who actually did it using goldfish, and he was able to grow plants and get things from it. But sort of 6 or 8 inches high was the last time I saw the plants growing in his greenhouse. It does seem to.
Yeah, your hydroponics is very similar. Aquaponics is very similar to your hydroponics, isn't it?
Yes.
I should say.
Aquaponics means basically fish farming, but you do it in a sort of constructed environment, not in a natural pool. You do it in a constructed environment, and you extract the fish poo, the waste that the fish deposit, use that as the fertilizer, and you then basically filter that into your hydroponic system. So in effect, you can create somewhat of a closed loop of a self-feeding system, an ecosystem unto itself.
Yeah, I understand. I had actually heard of it, but I've never looked into it. Obviously, I know all the other side of the hydroponics and all that stuff, which is...
Well, there's communities out there that have been working on it for years. You get combined systems of aquaponics, hydroponics, and permaculture. So that they take an area of land that they want to use, and they basically construct an enclosed system that should be fairly efficient at self-cycling, creating everything within itself. Yeah. So you only need to put a little bit of energy into it in the first place, in the sense of fertilizers and the seeds and the fish themselves, etc. But once you've got it going, it will go for a very long time before you actually need to put any more energy into it, self-perpetuating to a degree.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, hydroponics, anything like that. Don't give a shout me talking about something else.
I'm the same, mate. I'm just sitting here listening. It's interesting, though.
There is a hell of a lot of information out there about it, and it is something that does take a fair amount of study to get into if you want to actually try constructing something yourself. So, like I said, I've only read a bit about it, so if people want to know about it, go and research it for yourself, please. There is a lot of info out there about it.
Just type it into touch bar now, see if I can get an in up and do a bit of screen share on it. I'll just do a bit of one. Oh yeah.
I think Peter's coming to the chat now, hasn't he?
This lad just had a bit of pee.
Hi guys.
Sorry, he had a bit.
Sorry, hi Peter. Peter's just joined us. Sorry about that, Ivan.
Hello.
No, someone should stand on me foot when I set the show over. Sorry.
No, it's alright, you're quite fine, mate. Like I say, it's an open room, so anybody's welcome putting the points.
I'm all about, cracking on and doing stuff individually yourself that you can, change the paradigm, move away from the shit, try and quit your job, whatever you can, if you can do it, reduce your hours, find money elsewhere, go self-employed, whatever it takes, anything to get away from this system and try and make a change and be the change you want to see in the world. And I think aquaponics is an idea. I mean, homebrew is the first start, isn't it? If you can start homebrewing or growing your own dope or whatever you're into, I don't know. If you can start doing that, you're well away. And we've been homebrewing for years, as you can probably tell, because I'm half cut. And aquaponics to me is another way to do that. It's to, with a bit of pea gravel and an IBC tote full of fish, it's a way to, you know, to liberate yourself. And if you can automate some of the process so you're not a slave to the fish and going down there and feeding them, then that's even better. So if we can use technology to do that, we're turning it upside down and using it for our benefit.
I've just found some pictures of it here. Like I say, I haven't really looked into this much, so I can't really comment on it. I see the principle of it. I mean, it's just really like natural rivers and things like that, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
What it does is it takes the ammonia from the fish waste, and then you put it into an hang on, let me think, an anaerobic chamber where there's no air basically. You know when you pull out all the weeds out in a fish pond and it stinks and you've got all that black crap underneath. That's the anaerobic bacteria that's so far down in the pond there's no air, and they're beginning to convert the ammonia through into something else, and then ultimately into phosphates, and that's what you then feed the plants with. So it's only necessary to sort of cover the roots once an hour, you know, just pump it up once an hour and then let it drain down. There's no soil or anything like that, it's just pea gravel, and there's enough sustenance in the processed waste to, you know, to keep the plants going. But I think I did wonder why this has come into our consciousness. You know, why has this been allowed to suddenly pop up overnight as a solution? And it might be something for these neo-Luddites to do. It might also be that these smart cities, they'll be turning car parks into sort of urban farms. I've heard that kicked around.
Agenda 21.
Exactly. So when you've got this Agenda 21, you're not allowed to drive your car anymore. You've got these multi-layer, multi-story car parks that are perfect aquaponic farms.
Sorry.
The farming land is actually going bad. I think that's part of it.
That's it, people. No, I saw some footage, and this scared the shit out of me. And it were footage from the 1980s of like a Fergie tractor or something pulling one of these ploughs along a field, and behind it there's seagulls everywhere descending and eating the worms and the life that's coming up out of this ploughed soil, and they're just pecking away at this soil. You look at modern ploughing footage and there's no seagulls because there's no life.
No, you get a dust devil.
Exactly. Yeah, they just create a load of dust and there's no but death behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is the most telling thing I've seen in years, and it scared me.
Mainly down to the fertilisers that you use as well, though, isn't it? It's I mean, that Roundup, I've actually had the unfortunate pleasure of using that stuff. I used it for quite a long time because I did a lot of landscaping from like the Trafford Centre here in Bolton, Man City ground. I did all the landscaping on places like that. I was continuously walking around with what we call the haversack with the chemical in it. And not on the actual bottle, it actually said to you, do not use while raining, as it could cause death of plants and animals on up to a 6-mile radius. So,
I like that picture you had up then, Dean, of that home aquaponics system. That was good.
Hi guys. Have you seen the vertical farming as well that they could cross-do into hydroponics and aquaponics as well with the whole systems that they've got in China at the moment? So they just have them on big carousels, lettuces, just rotating around on a whole system, and they tie it in with aquaponics as well.
It's also been incorporated into what's commonly known as earth ships, which is a kind of eco building. It's a self-energizing building to a large degree, you know, just to placate the thermodynamics arguments out there. And that would include an aquaponics hydroponic enclosed system built into the walls in a vertical farming kind of fashion, so that you can literally be eating the vegetables in your home. You know, they line the walls like hanging baskets, and it helps filter the water through the water system as well. So, I mean, all this stuff has been worked on for a number of years now, knocking on decades that people have been working on these ideas. So there is a a lot of really good info out there if you're interested in that kind of stuff.
The right good, they, in inverted commas, are really good at taking a good idea and making it right, aren't they? When I was into electric cars for years, and that was one of the things that I suppose woke me up, was the fact that I couldn't understand why people weren't using these things, because they do kind of work, and it's a great way of getting around. And I've had electric cars, hybrids, and all this bit. And yeah, they work. And I watched Who Killed the Electric Car, and I thought, yeah, that's exactly it. But why is the film coming out? I thought to myself. And then I realised that, ultimately that they're going to be releasing electric cars. But how are we getting away with this? It must be road pricing, surely. Well, when we look at electric cars now, they've got these tracking. Well, I'm saying tracking. They've got telemetrics in them anyway, whereby you say, where's my nearest charging point and how far do I want to go? So
Yeah.
Gender 21's being built into the vehicles, and I saw it on Doom Watch.
Ford had an electric car 100 years ago.
Aye, there's some absolute. They kick the ass of the petrol stuff.
But this is now enabling them to do the metering of it, because you can be geo-tracked wherever that vehicle goes. You can be charged pence per mile, pence per foot, whatever they decide to, set the charge up as. That's why they've been pushing with all the tracking technology.
Exactly.
I think it were on Doom Watch. Did you see that? Do you know to watch Doom Watch, or am I going to get shunned now for watching it?
No, I have watched it. It hasn't been on though, has it, recently? I thought, because the UK column deciding they're not doing anything with their YouTube channel now because of all the ACVOD shit. It hasn't been on, I thought, but that might be just me missing it.
You have to go to Thanks, Alex G. Thanks. You've got to go back to the website and get it from.
Yeah. I was just gonna jump in there. Yeah, and just say exactly what you were saying there, Ivan. But if you go to their website, they're on a break at the moment. I believe they're back next week. UK column.
No,
on their website.
They're back on Monday.
Yeah, back on Monday. They've still been doing Doom Watch, and they're still doing their usual lunchtime shows on there. But it's a bit what can I say? Confusing as to what you're actually going to catch when you go on there, because you'll click on the live link and you could be sitting there for hours before anything actually comes on that's relevant.
I could catch some up from that Lexi giving half a chance, I'll tell you that much.
That's the point, mate. Don't forget that Doomcast, because of where it's broadcast from, is funded by the BBC. Alex G is an old hand as a radio jockey and host and whatever else. So the Totty is there deliberately for that exact reason. Listen to the information, don't be distracted by the boobies.
Well, I was thinking the same about you, I took one look at that beard and I thought, that's a handsome man.
It's an enchanted beard. It's where my leprechauns live.
He's going to be... And there's Dean with his bloody tits out. I mean, come on.
It's wrong in here, mate. That's because of the noise around me. I've had to shut all the doors and windows, but otherwise, you wouldn't hear me. You'd only hear them out there.
Ah, you've shut your windows, but you've broadcasted your tits to the internet.
Oh, shit, mate. No, I don't look good, mate. I don't brand about myself. I just crack on. I don't really give a fuck what people think.
Oh, you don't. I'm only taking you.
Yeah, no. Oh, wait.
As long as I'm not expected to get mine out, mate, knock yourself out.
No, but what we're going to say is that Alex G put some throwaway statement in there about cars after 2008, after having to have telemetrics in, and that it was interesting that it coincided with the payout of the what they call it, the PPI. So people were suddenly getting these, several £1,000s worth of bung from the banks, and it was a great time to go out and buy a new car. And post 2008, they were fitted with these telemetrics units whereby they could be tracked and hacked and so on. And if anybody looks at the black hat hacking stuff, DEF CON and things like that, you'll find that they're able to remotely drive hack cars.
Yep.
Relatively.
Wait till the Johnny Cab starts.
Well,
The Google driverless cars. I call them Johnny Cab because that's literally what they are. You wait till them start, and the hackers are going to be having tons of fun with them.
All new cars after 2015 have got to have the black box in them, or you can't get insurance.
Nightmare.
You heard that?
Do you know the type of present and future that we're talking about now? I'm playing no part in it. Me and Keo, I'm going to the woods, and that's it. See you, everyone. That's what I'm doing.
You've still got to come over yet, John. Check this underground tunnel I've got.
Shh. Save that for me between me and you, Dean.
I've been over and had a good look at it, but you'll find it interesting.
Dean, I'm going to give you a contact shortly, don't you worry. I've just got to get this move sorted. And then...
you got me Skype and that, anyway.
Yeah, we'll crack on. Yeah, I'm off to the woods, me guys, or up near Dean's. That's where I'm going.
It's nice and open, isn't it, John, up here? It's I'm right on the edge of the West Pennines, so it's I have a good ramble now and then.
I'm not far at all. I'm like East Manchester, and East Manchester, the Pennines and the valleys kind of cut into Manchester using a river, and I'm not far away from that, so that's like my local nature reserve and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, I'm not far away from where you are. Not far away at all.
That's it. Well, that's it. Have a good walk up there one weekend. We've got there's quite a lot of military aircraft crashed up here during war. Iron Age burials, tin mines, copper mines, coal mines. It was all brick kilns and everything up on hills. All the old roadways from the late 1700s and early 1800s are all still there, where they had just the two flags laying out and the horse track in the middle. All them are all still up here. So it is a really good walk and there's some good history up there. So,
you love your history, don't you, Dean?
Oh yeah.
You'll love that church near me. You'll love that. That's been there 1,000 years or something. It's fucking really old Masonic stuff all over it.
It's just, I'd say it, growing up I never actually thought I'd be spending so much time in graveyards.
I know, can I just say, are you all meeting up in a graveyard in Scotland?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Why? What, are you doing mushrooms or something?
It's there's a lot of Freemasonry graves up there and so on, and because I know quite a bit about stonemasonry and things like that, I can sort of like read into it, and you get the personality of the stonemasons out of the stone, and you get more of a date on them as well. You know what to look for, because a stonemason actually signed his work. A stonemason was very proud of the work then. They're not like, no offence, but they're not like the brickies nowadays where it's money and throw it up. They don't really care how long it's going to last or anything. Stonemasons built to last and they signed the work. And they were proud of the work. And like I say, you can actually see each personality of each stonemason in a stone on the facet of the stone where they actually put the fascia on it. They all hit different depths. You get strike the tools different, and it all shows in the work.
Oh, you'll love that church. I'll give you I'll send you some details on it. You'll love it. That church.
I watched that, John. That was correct. The ones on the ground.
It's on one of my videos, yeah.
It's in your videos. The one, the stones on the ground, the headstones.
Yeah.
All the dates and stuff.
Yeah. There's all sorts of stuff all over it, actually. Weird little touches. But what someone mentioned earlier, might have been Ivan, about stuff you can do in your life to you know, to get out of the paradigm as much as you can and stuff like that. And I said this last week, but also, it was just a natural thing where what was going on in Gaza, and then next minute they put up this thing of the list of companies and corporations that fund the IDF and are involved in the Zionist war machine and the rest of it. I don't use a single one of them. I don't use a single one of them. And I've dropped a lot of them quite recently, like since I've become like a vegetarian and stuff like that. I don't use a single one of them, and that's just being natural. That's just me going back to a more natural way of living. So that's a lesson for you, isn't it? Really, it's unnatural, all that sort of shit. I'm going back the other way. So maybe the paradigm is going more digitised and more futuristic, but I'm not. I'm going back to the woods.
Well, I mean, go to the woods, but take a laptop, you know.
Yeah, I'll take my tablet.
That's it. I mean, we can't fall into the neo-Luddite trap. It's the best I can come up with.
I'm not like that.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is that's what they want you to do. I think they'd like you to just go get a flint axe and, you know, sod off and go skin rabbits and all the rest of it. And that's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fine.
When they turn up with their laser guns to take your resources, you ain't going to be able to do jack shit except go, whoa, and then you're dead.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any resources. Don't have anything. I've got nothing. Fuck all that you can take in my legal fiction anyway. Let's just put it that way. You know what I mean? Like everything matters in different things.
I think you would look pretty impressive in a bearskin cookie.
What was he called off the telly years ago?
It's quite homoerotic tonight, isn't it?
Jeez, I just got a vision of that then, Peter, when you said that. Oh no.
Jumpers for goalposts. Alex Lineker's face leaning over you. Sorry, I'm getting too silly now.
I think that's going to be Cookie's nickname, Bearskin Cookie.
Bearskin Cookie.
It's been asked several times before. I'm not a bear.
Just have a bear ass. I've noticed in the chat room there's a lot of chat about Mr. Richards. I've only had a quick look at this. But my mum was an avid follower of that guy, and I've always said to her there was something wrong with him. But I don't know if anybody can elaborate a little further on the story. Because like I said, I don't watch TV anyway, so I don't really follow a lot of news, to tell you the truth. Because it's all full of the Ukraine and full of Gaza, and it gets to you, and you just get to a point where you don't want to watch it. So I sort of like just read whatever gets printed on Google and things like that, posted on Google and things like that. So that's why a lot of times if we get to a subject that I know about, I just sit quiet and listen to you all. Obviously I do follow it a bit, but not a great deal. Does anyone want to jump in with the cliffside?
Don't jump off it.
Or jump off it. I'll leave you up, Cookie.
I don't know any more than you. I've only seen the headline. I don't know any of the details, and I think I could be typically cynical and say, what a surprise. Yes, mate, Cliff Richard. Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's about time.
Brilliant, isn't it? It's everything that you watched when you was young is fucking tainted. Nothing was sacred. Nothing.
Pat Sharp's sacred. Pat Sharp is fine.
Oh God, he's gonna get nicked and he's the next. Pat Sharp. Remember them two girls?
That's partly what
excuse me,
somebody was.
Sorry for jumping in. You know he's got a what do you call it thing for that island he stays on. He's actually got he lives there and he's got what's the name of it? Brain fart. A citizenship for the island he stays on, and it's got a non treaty for extraditing.
Barbados. Yeah.
Are we still talking about Pat Sharp here?
Probably.
Tony B was asking in the chat room, like, do we have any suggestions or ideas on who might be next on the list now that they've had Cliff Richard?
Well, Kip has been playing that Elton John clip for a while. So he's a massive lover of the young, and that those words might come true.
I think it's Neil Buchanan.
Who's the guy who used to have Spit the Dog?
Spit the Dog.
Oh,
Jeez.
Bob Carroll, jeez, is he still alive? He needs to fucking watch his back.
Is what's it still alive from Pink Windmill? You remember that, anybody? The Pink Windmill?
Right,
I do, I remember that.
That's got to be a euphemism, come on.
Grot bags.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I actually said it.
He's dead, mate. He fell off a ladder.
That was Finley, wasn't it? Rod Hull?
Oh, bloody...
Yeah.
Oh, Rod Hull.
Rod Hull.
The man who likes to put his arm up to the elbow in birds.
Yeah. Didn't he actually do Emu as well? Didn't he do Rainbow? No, he didn't do Rainbow, did he?
It wouldn't surprise me if the whole of the Rainbow crew were caught up in it next at some point.
Clippy.
It just reminded me of an absolutely brilliant Rainbow video clip, if I can find it, if it's still on the tubes.
I've probably seen it. There's loads of them about some funny ones, some dirty ones, and some just general funny.
Is that the thing about Bungle's Twanger?
Yeah.
That's absolutely hilarious.
If you just
Cookie, what was that a real show or was that just a made-up one? Because I mean, obviously, I think everyone knows that there was sort of some play with adult play with a lot of their shows, even if you watch some of it. But Matt, like, I would have been too young for that show.
No, it was a real show. I used to watch it.
What, that actual episode was a real show?
Oh, I don't know that.
yes, the Twangers song and all that, like that, supposedly. I never actually saw it myself live, but supposedly it was part of a real show. So they were singing to the kids about playing with their twangers.
For any American that's watching this, we're just talking about paedophiles from our youth.
Yeah.
It was just all over the TV.
Don't worry, it's perfectly normal. We're just talking about paedophiles from our youth.
It's something that has sort of, I think, just simply because it's got to such a Petergeddon crescendo here, and not only here, on the continent as well, that it's actually starting to breach into some of the mainstream in America. It has on the alternative websites, but it's even, I've seen it mentioned here and there occasionally. So, you know, it may be relevant to an American audience, I don't know. They've got shit just as bad over there. Yeah. Look into the Canadian history of the convent schools and stuff like that, and that's recent enough history that there's plenty of documentation over it. Is it Kevin Annett?
Kevin
yeah, he's documented it really well. You look into that, you know, they're suffering just as much as we are from that kind of shit. It's just here it's been so institutionalized and so industrialized to the degree that it empowers a lot of the hierarchical structure, you know, that control grid, keep people in line.
I think it's IPPC or something, has a website, something like
IPCC, that's Independent Police Complaints Commission.
that. I know, it's something IP...
But I actually think the like the whole pedophile thing, it's a global thing anyway. I think literally, you could probably look at anyone in power in government of any country, most likely has some kind of connection to any of our people that are caught. You know, certainly people like Jimmy Savile who didn't just travel around this country. You know, he travelled abroad and stuff. So.
Sorry, that's my bloody duper just popped back on again.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. I don't know if anyone else had anything to add on that.
If you just type in Kevin Arnett, you'll get what Coopy's talking about.
Here's a link I'll put in the Hangout chat for 1 sec. This is a documentary on that Canadian situation. I'll try and get the the video link itself. I just want the video link, not the fucking playlist. Fuck's sake.
Just remove the question mark list from the actual link. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you probably know that anyway.
They've actually all been arrested. Well, allegedly arrested in the common law court in Europe. Put an arrest warrant out for the Queen, the Pope, people in Canada. That's just a common law court, but nothing's happened. But all of a sudden, the Pope kind of resigned, which has never happened in history. And then they're all stepping down. All these kings and queens are all stepping down, and so I don't know if that's got anything to do with it.
This is doing my head in. I can't comment in the comment room. Won't let me comment at all. It's pissing me off actually. I shut it down. Sorry about that. And that's with Firefox that as well. Usually Firefox, I've had to use Firefox for the Hangout because Google won't let me. No, it won't let me comment Hangout on the live feed on the YouTube.
Dean, is that a cat or an owl on your tattoo?
I get that question all the time. It's a tiger.
It's a tiger.
It is a tiger, yes.
Tiger cat owl.
Yeah.
An owl.
It does look like an owl for you.
It looks like an owl to me. It's like.
It's the camera. I've got one on my chest and one on my back and one on my leg and a couple on my arms.
I wanted to say Morlock, but we all know it's not actually Morlock, don't we? That's a big fuck off bull.
Yeah. No, it's. I love tigers. I've actually had live tiger on my knee.
I'm a big lover of tigers.
Sorry?
I'm a big lover of tigers.
Yeah, they're great. They're beautiful animals. It's the way they prance about, and it's like I'm the boss here, you know what I mean? It's don't mess with me. Just the posture of the thing. It's absolutely beautiful, cat.
Clip of the tiger sneaking up on the dog, and it turns out the dog's a best friend of the tiger.
Yeah, I've seen quite a lot of that. There's a zoo in Pattaya, in Thailand, and it's actually called Tiger Zoo. When you actually go into it, you'll walk round, and at one segment there'll be a tiger lying down, and you've got piglets dressed in little tiger coats, and they're actually suckling up the tiger. And you go further round, and you'll have a tiger lying down, a pig lying down, with tigers suckling off it, cubs. And then further round, there's a Labrador running around with tigers, and you see them playing away, you know what I mean? I know it's sort of intervening on their lives, but I mean, they've actually come up with evidence now that it does actually happen in the wild. I was watching a documentary the other day actually about unusual animals coming together and friends.
Can't you get a photograph in Thailand?
Sorry?
With a tiger. Can you get a photo? I'm sure you can get your photograph done with a tiger in Thailand. but I'm sure it's on like China White or something. You know, they inject them with China White, and you can just go over and fucking have a smoke with it. But yeah,
No, these aren't.
I did touch a killer whale tongue once.
There's actually, if you look on my YouTube channel, the what picture? That is the picture of me sat with the cat on my knee. Actually over in Thailand. I wouldn't give it him back.
I went to Chester Zoo and they're all just sat there sleeping.
Sorry?
I went to Chester Zoo and they're all just sat there sleeping. You could hardly see them. They're all tucked away.
You know what I mean? They're stuck together like that. They're not meant to be together either because they're a lonesome cat.
Mm.
Did you go in the Bat Cave, Ivan?
Sorry?
What's that?
No, in Chester Zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bat Cave. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was awesome.
Great, innit?
Yeah.
It stinks though, stinks, but
Yeah, proper stank. Yeah. I'm slightly hornophobic. That's it, isn't it? You know, slightly scared of wings. You know, I'm not big on moths and things, but we're alright with the bats, which is a bit weird.
Sounds a bit batty to me.
Ah, well. I heard you say, Dean, that you were a mate of Fred's.
I was.
I wish I could have met that man, honestly.
I was sat showing my friend last night actually the video where I'm on the dreaded BBC with him.
Is that the one where he's bringing down the chimney with the... Were you only a kid then, or what?
Yeah, that was back in it was either 83 or 85. Where it was actually it was a lit cap from a famous mill that was by us, a Bolton actress made a big film when it was opening the cotton industry. So I followed him about. I was at his house quite a lot with his team. I've always been into stuff like that, and we following him about. I actually stood up in the canteen at work when 9/11 was happening. And I just said to everyone, I said them two had just been blown up. And I just got stirred like fuck, you know what I mean? But anybody that has an ounce of physics knowledge knows that there's a possibility to come down, but that's an old subject that keeps getting dragged up, and I think that's part of the problem with us. Some people tend to get stuck in past and not looking into the future of how we can actually sort these things out. And I do a lot of people that aren't in our rings that saying, well, it's not down to us to sort it, is it? I mean, I've got lifetime friends on Facebook that have blocked me because I've put the point down to them and saying, look, who the fuck's problem is it then, if it's not ours, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've allowed this situation to happen by not standing up and doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's time for the table to get turned, but I've got a feeling that's what we're waiting for, and it's just going to go fucking stupid, to tell you the truth.
I think there's something in Fred's ethos. I mean, he said, I've heard him say on his clips, I've heard him say that, you know, you should be, oh, I'm pissing around with your steam engine, you should be up taking my bloody chimney down or sorting my chimney out. You know? And that, to me, that is the attitude. He's able to turn around to a big contract, you know, 4,000 quid back in 80s and 70s, whatever it cost to take a chimney down, brick by brick, or put a new trellis up or something. And be able to turn around and say, actually, you know, I'd rather be turning my flywheel on my lathe, so why don't you just wait a bit?
Yeah.
That is the solution, you know, along with being able to just turn your back on it slightly and, yeah, you know, keep him with a loop, but, you know, hook him.
But they went at Fred for a couple of years, you know, trying to get him to do the show. And he said, I'm not bloody interested in that shit. And what I was going there for? He says, you know, he's even going down to Queen getting his OBE or MBE, I can't remember which one it was. Even getting down that, he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go for it. He said, I put the shit shoot on and go down there, you know what I mean? She's taking time out of my bloody life. You know what I mean? He was straightforward.
Yeah.
Great guy. He'd tell you straight what he thought of you and everything, right? I mean, he was a cracking teacher. If you watched his series on TV, the way he explains things, it's in layman's terms so people can understand it.
Well, it's more his passion.
Yeah.
He tells you as if he's just found out, and he goes, "Check this out! Look, it's awesome!" You know, and he's telling you with absolute passion, and that will convince anybody of anything. And that's not his goal. His goal is just to convey that same passion and intimacy with the technology that he had. I mean, I don't know the man, but that comes right across. And I tell you something. Well, you'll know. A man can lie through his mouth, but he can't lie through his hands. And you can look at his steam engine and his work, and he can turn. You know, I've cut a gear. It's a pain in the ass. You know, I've polished things. I've restored some things, and you can never lie through your own work. And that work, that traction engine that was sold as, and the other one that was sold as what, $250,000 was it?
Yeah.
That can't lie. That's that man's truth, immortalised.
So he had all these items all went into his engines. I mean, you just look at his. Don't really say it on her, but just look at his married life. I mean, the amount of life he went through, you know, because he turn around and say, look, you're spending too much time on your job and things like that. Whereas I've actually seen him take a 250-foot chimney down, brick by brick.
Yeah.
You know, it's because there weren't enough room to drop it.
Yeah.
He used to always say, it took that long to build them, you deserve to smoke one last time.
Yeah.
And he said that before he lit every fire.
He'll be breathing the same breath and wielding the same tools as the man that laid the bricks in the first place. And that's the thing, it's putting yourself in that mindset, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But you see, nowadays, all that's gone. It's very hard to find, you know. It's because of that money mentality that's been pumped into people, where it's a task to go to work nowadays.
Mm.
Whereas if you look back, I don't mean the cotton industry, I mean people like in the engineering side, things like that. We're proud to go to work and proud to step back and look at the work after they've finished. They'd always have the signatures hidden somewhere. Even Fred did it. On his chimneys, every chimney he worked on, he took bricks out and put plaques in them. I've got them here, only a quarter of a mile from my house here now. There's a chimney standing there that's got a preservation order on it. And that was the last chimney he worked on.
Yeah.
Oh, his name's all over that. And that's connected to what I was talking to John about earlier. About the underground thing. The chimney's actually connected to that.
Oh,
I watched all his series, Dean. It was brilliant. I watched every programme he made.
I still do, James. I still watch them. There's one on YouTube that's called. Actually, I'll dig it up. You all just chat amongst yourselves, and I'll dig this link out.
No, I certainly mourn the lack of industry in this country. But I think the power always moves west. You know, so the tall towers always move west, and you know, the Industrial Revolution has passed us. But that was our time in the sun, effectively. We're now living in the post-industrial age where we've got Chinese shite all around us that drops out of the sky as soon as you look at it, and we've got to try and survive with this. And we're living in a post-industrial apocalypse, really. And we're looking back to poor old Fred and wishing he was still bloody knocking around, because, you know, he just about saw the back end of our reign of power, and that's kind of where we're at. We're a 30-year-old country almost in terms of.
Now this one, I'm just setting up here to show you. This is this is the actual one. Well, actually, this is a good one because of what. If you want to watch the full one, it's only 22 minutes long. You'll see it when I put it up. You'll find it quite easy on YouTube. But actually, this one links into what me and Kip does as well around the graveyards, because halfway through this, he's actually in a graveyard working on a church, and all the gravestones have been pushed over, smashed up and things like that. But you ought to hear him, what he says, and you can hear the passion of the stonework coming out of him, you know. I've just got the end of that set up. I'll put it on screen share and play it. You should be able to hear the volume with this as well, because I've switched the audio card on. The end of this one, I'm actually on this one with him. I better put some volume on.
Actually hungry. You know, none of these people are hungry and have no bloody shoes. And yet them fellas in 1930, they didn't do it, did they? Sort of it, you know, I don't know.
That's the mill.
Nothing was happening to cheer Fred up these days. And he had now taken on a felling job as dangerous as any he had ever tackled.
Like, this is a bit of an unusual subject, this tower. Because I've only ever done one before and things didn't quite go right, you know. I learned a lot. And I think we'll have this one right, you know. We're going to undermine half of the tower, but all the staircase and everything, and then prop it up on the sticks like we do with the chimney, and then set fire to it, you know what I mean? We've got everything calculated right. It's got to fall over. There's no man can say this is going to go exactly like. I mean, them fellas who send bloody rockets off to the moon and space and all of that, look how many clingers they have. And that they're clever fellas, you know. I mean, it's some sort of feeling. Somehow or other, this tower, it'll be right, this one. It'll be a good, you know.
Played in there many a time.
We'll put a bit of weight on them now, they're bent. Yeah, a few hundred.
Is the video supposed to be playing?
There's all way up for 7 floors.
No, it's just a. It's just paused.
It's paused.
It was paused, aye.
Can you see it now?
I can see, but it's not gone.
Whereabouts is he?
He's knocking shit out of some pillars at the moment, Dean.
Right, I think it's just outside James that he's put your pause.
I think if you play it now, it'll go.
Apart from this bit here.
Is that okay?
So then I'll have to come out.
That's better, yes.
Oh! Just get the screw stuck in! Just a minute!
No, he'll do. As near as you can get him to it. He'll do though, get it tipping up. Get it much with it. When we're ready, I'll give you the word and we get them all out. Well, no, I think more like it'll go over and then it'll all disintegrate, you know. Hopefully, you know. I don't know really. I must have had it with a clanger, you know. It didn't work very well. It's all there, lads, here with the tyre.
Yeah, all that's me, that's just fell off here. That's me.
There's 2 propped round the corner, which are very critical. We've got to have a good fire there. Up of the top. Oh, they'll be rigs, I think. You know, I've only ever done one of these before, and it went wrong. But I think I learned a lot of lessons with that one. We're a bit down on tyres, really. We could do with some for the inside, and we haven't got any. You know.
What one's you, Dean?
So it looks like a bit of a potluck job. Everything can burn away and the things stay up. That's the worst. But somehow or other, with the weight that's on the props, I don't think that's going to happen. You know, there's a lot of tons on this, just on the outside. You know, and what there is of woodwork inside, you know, won't keep the bugger up. I don't think. You know, it'll pull it off them sticks that are inside. Yeah, then, if you want to enjoy this. All I want you to do is light the fire, you see. And I'm very superstitious. I don't like doing it. So I'll show you what lighting, and as soon as we've got it going, you can toodle off over to a safe place, you see. So we'll get rid of all the crowd, and we're away. And then it's keep your fingers crossed and pray, you know. Do it this time, we're away. Right, come on, run this going. Don't fall down there. There you are. Stick it in there. That's it, come on, do it. That'll do. Come on. Round corner that way. Come on your haircut. In here, love. Hey, oh. In there. Yeah. Down there. Let's go in there. Got the bonfire going there. No, you're alright, love. You can move over there out.
We go jump now, Deb.
Dark chimney was an inside job.
Fred Dibner job.
You've done a better job.
Hey, I wonder what Fred thought of it, you know.
Well, they must have rung them all. Yeah. Hey, outside, come on. Come on, outside. Outside.
Hey, pull up there.
Come on. Scat. Where's he gone? Up? That's what they tell her it middle. There's only that corner, holding it up. And we have it going.
What a nutter.
Talking about 4 more on codes,
Fucking nutcase.
Oh, yeah. One of a kind. It's alright, Mark.
There's no more. No, the end of another one. To the pub. Did you like that? I think next time we'll make the gap a bit bigger. There's all in my pocket. Make the gap a bit bigger because did you see how they went then props shorter and shorter, you know, and bent like, and they were a bit worrying. I think next time about 2'6" instead of 18 inches or so. They always do, you know. Be a brave man who can tackle one of them with a box of matches and not feel any worry, wouldn't you? They're in a bloody big heap now, isn't it? Yeah, well, we're off to the pub now. You want one of them bricks?
Look at that, slow motion. Late 80s, well, mid 80s. None of that showing off towers, was
No explosives. And its footprint, nearly.
Yep.
The thing that gets me is it's an absolute confidence. He knows it's coming down, but he's not going to, you know, be too egotistical about how he goes about it. It's coming down, but it might go well, it might not, you know.
Right.
Real engineer. Yeah.
He's
I know what I'm doing, but, you know.
That might go wrong.
He was brilliant in what he did. It was just a bit of a nutcase. Most of his work that he actually did, it was all uninsured because insurance companies just wouldn't touch him. So it was like, he took him on the one that I said, the 250 foot he took down by hand, he charged £500 for. But like, it was about 3 months it took him to take it down.
I seen him doing that. He was knocking the bricks inside the chimney. Just knocked it all back inside itself.
Yeah.
Right.
It's his scaffolding that got used to get me. Jesus. I used to get up and lace his ladders up and all that. I mean, I don't like heights, so I love working at heights, but doing stuff he was doing, it, no chance. I wouldn't do it. Not a chance, man.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Too dodgy.
But yeah, he's I used to love following him around and sort of chatting to the guy. Like I say, he used to explain things really well. As you can tell with the way he talks, he was a straightforward person.
He's a character.
That's a little bit of what BBC didn't really like about him because they couldn't tell him what to do, you know. So we got a good few series out of it, and he didn't make a great deal of money out of it. But he didn't want it. He didn't want to do it in the first place. But yeah, cheers, Ivan. That brought me a few memories back there, mate.
He's one of my heroes, and I heard you mention him and thought, well, that's it. We've got to strike that one
up. Glad you did, actually.
Yeah, no, it's been good. I think one of the things is, what I'm saying is he had the attitude that, you know, he didn't have a full-time job, and if you don't spend it, you don't have to earn it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that set me free. I mean, was it John we were talking earlier? He's gone now, hasn't he? But
yeah.
He was saying, you know, about the change, you know, be the change and so on. And that was one of the things that struck me a few years ago was, if you don't, you know, it costs you money to work. You know, I used to get the train every day, and it was a 3 hour a day commute round trip, you know, hour and a half each way. And you buy yourself a coffee and a bun and a bit of comfort and a sandwich and a bit of this for the train. You need new headphones, don't you? And you need a new album to listen to, and it costs you money to work. And you know, going on my own as I have done, being lucky enough to be able to do it. It's great to take on work and think, well, that's so much money, and then, well, if there isn't any work, then I don't spend out, or if I don't spend it, I don't have to earn it. and it's the most liberating thing I've ever done.
What makes you laugh is it costs you money just to be alive.
Yeah, yeah. And I think John were alluding to this earlier. You know, you're around food. There'll be folks starving to death with food all around them, won't there?
No, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about all these sanctions against Russia. And they've nowhere to put, or they've nowhere to sell all this food. So it's just going to waste because there's nowhere to put it. So what did they do with it? Just let it rot? Crazy.
It's mad. It's mad. I mean, I think, you know, I look at things, I suppose, a bit different to most folk. I mean, people instantly get angry as soon as they realise that they're being subjugated and controlled in this manner. And I look at it the other way and I think, fucking hell, you've been able to suppress and control me for this many years. That's amazing. I think it's actually quite fascinating that they're able to control mass amounts of people and make them rush round like fucking morons and act like morons and drive dangerously to save minutes and do all of these amazing things. And people are able to do this. You know, they're able to control people to this extent. And that is absolutely amazing. Until we understand how they've personally hacked our brains, we'll never be free of it. And that's the truth of it, I think.
Yeah.
How have you made me rush round like a moron? How have you made me sit for 3 hours a day on a train? How have you done that?
I think you could probably answer that.
Well, I mean, we all can. I suppose we're talking retrospectively, aren't we? And I think the truth of it is that whenever I talk to anybody who's aware of the situation, or even marginally, even to the Alex Jones level of awareness, you know, they're always sort of either self-employed or unemployed or retired, or they basically have time on their hands. And I think the biggest part of the control system is the time removal of your life, not or being too knackered. By the time you come home, you're too knackered, and you can't be arsed, and all the rest of it. But if you've nothing to tie you down, you suddenly start to look at it, and it breaks away. Control breaks.
Can I just jump in here, guys? I've
Hey up,
just
John.
spilt my top, so there's been a bit of a break there. Spilt something on my top, should I say? So I've had a quick change. But Ivan just said something there where that's kind of how I live. Is it used to cost me £100 just to go to work in my last job. £100 before even start. That's what it cost me to go and work. Now it costs me nothing. I do what I do. I get my money. I don't even spend. I've got nothing to spend it on. I don't do anything.
Yep.
I don't do anything apart from enjoy food more than I've ever enjoyed it in my life. That's all I do.
Yeah.
That's all I do.
I can say that.
I can't spend my money. I've got nothing to spend it on apart from food.
I've got a watermelon. You know.
You know, it's stuff like that. Like all I've been doing is eating all night. I'm gonna calm down now.
No, it's right. It's right. And you've more respect for stuff, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you go and enjoy, like with my dog, I go out and enjoy the wildlife, bees, flowers, that sort of stuff. Free from ego as much as you can get, as much as you can. Keep that in check as much as you can. But yeah, just go for it from there. But I'm lucky I can do that. I'm fucking so lucky, and it does give you time to think. You're spot on. Absolutely. Spot on.
I mean, back in, sort of, I suppose, Greco-Roman times, they had people who did not but sit there and philosophise, didn't they? They had people who had the time to sit and contemplate the stars and see that Venus tracked in the shape of a pentagram and all the rest of it. They had the time to do that. We don't, because we're too subjugated.
Busy bees.
Yeah, and I think it's down to us where the sort of, where the ambassadors of free time.
It makes me laugh for these, how you get the odd MP turning around and saying they can live for £5 a day. I think, yeah, you can and you grow all your own stuff, but if you're working, you can't.
Well, you probably could if your house is paid for and you sold your Bentley and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even when you go to a shop for a Mars bar or a packet of crisps, put that on the bills. It's claiming them back. and they call people that aren't looking, they're calling them scroungers. I'm afraid it's time they held the mirror up and looked in the mirror, you know. The biggest scroungers here are the MPs.
Mm.
As far as I'm concerned, you know, it's diabolical. I mean, we're slaves without chains, and I can see it coming to a time where your wages will go straight to the government, and they'll send you food stamps and things like that.
Mm.
For some reason, I just see that on the horizon.
Well, it's a kind of cashless society, isn't it? I mean, I've used this. There's been so many things that I've stored up in my brain to mention to you people before I had the balls to actually, or were drunk enough to actually key up and say something. And and one of the things was that I recently bought myself, because I'm one of these, you know, fascists. I bought myself a new mobile phone off eBay, and it's a quad-core, Christ knows what. It's got everything, Quarter HD screen, and it was like £70 or £60 for something that just a few years ago would have cost me, you know, 4 or 5. Yeah, it's absolutely. And you get them from China, they're worth nothing. So it's not worth insuring it. It's not worth having any sort of ongoing payment to it or anything else. It's worth nout, but it works very effectively. And this, I think, is the zeitgeist model. It's not so much that. It's the fact that things that are desirable in inverted commas will become so cheap they don't cost anything. It's the sort of, how can I put it, sort of cashless. You could just go get a TV off the shelf because it'll just be so cheap, or a phone or a laptop. It'll be so cheap that it won't matter. And we're being nudged in this zeitgeist world whereby, you know, you can just go grab these things because they're just ubiquitous.
But how is it produced?
Exactly.
That you're putting that value on it.
It was broken into its material costs and its metals and its resources and its slave labour that went into it. It's worth, you know, thousands perhaps. So, yep, that's the thing. We're being pushed into that's what I'm trying to say in a roundabout sort of ways, that we're being pushed into the desirable things in inverted commas are being cheapened.
The consumption of life to equate to trivialities.
That fits, doesn't it? Yeah, that. What he said.
I agree with that, Cookie. Whatever it meant.
It means that people will, through ignorance, whether it be willful ignorance or blatant, just, you know, lack of awareness, acquiesce, agree to, go along with other people's lives being consumed. Either they're killed off or they just spend their entire life energy doing nothing but working for just enough to actually survive on, you know, just enough food to survive on, etc. They spend their lives to gather the resources and produce the goods that you buy as an almost trivial, predominantly trivial occupation for your mind. Because as we were talking about earlier, an item could be produced that will last your entire lifetime, but we don't. We produce one that will only last a short period of time. Yeah. And a lot of the goods that we're presented with, I'd say 90% of the goods we're presented with are trivialities. They don't provide for any kind of real need or enable any kind of productive creativity. They're just to keep you occupied. They're bread and circuses. They're entertainment and nothing else. Yeah.
Should I be defending myself at this point, or is it?
No, I was just expanding on. You know, I boiled it down to one simple, oversimplified statement, but
yeah.
Agreeing with.
It's just, I think we're at the point where, you know, as part of my ongoing battle to buy something that I needed, frankly, because, you know, I have a business to run and stuff to do. And Christ, who was that?
Skype just died.
You can get some pills for that.
It's raining me. Signal. I'll just shut it down.
I needed it, and it were cheap, you know, so it's money I didn't have to earn. And yeah, I could put me, you know, I could say, shit, you know, I've enslaved thousands of Chinese people in buying this thing. And yeah, I should probably be fighting the battle, you know, the other way and saying, well, actually, I'm not going to do that. But I don't really have a solution. I don't have the freedom of choice to do anything.
We can berate ourselves till the cows come home.
Yeah.
It's the choices you make at the time that you make them, in the sense of, now you're sitting there thinking about it, next time you might have more consideration for that kind of a prospect, and you might purchase differently. Yeah. And it's in those steps that we're making the change. The more people that have that kind of awareness, the more they will choose carefully where they expend their life energy, because that's what the bits of paper equate to. Yeah, and that way we will steer this thing away from that fucking consumerist consumption of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been saying for years now, because this was something that I had to get over, was that don't kill yourself trying to be Gandhi. You know, we, amongst human beings, we have some good examples of people that really give their all to try and do that kind of good thing, you know, to try and be the best that they can be in what they're doing and give generously and all that kind of stuff. And it's great to aspire towards that, but don't negate yourself or put hurdles in front of yourself by saying, oh, I'm not good enough because I'm not Gandhi, I'm not as pious as he is, I'm not as giving as he was, blah, blah. You slow yourself down. Like you were talking about gratitude earlier, and simple gratitude for the things that you have that make your life enjoyable.
Yeah.
Appreciate them and keep moving forward. Yeah, build on it slowly, bit by bit, and it will keep expanding.
Stop putting yourself through a guilt trip.
Yeah.
Oh,
Use your money
exactly.
wisely. Use your money wisely, and wake up the people you're giving your money to, especially in chain stores and stuff like that, franchises where they could use like workfare scheme, you know, or internships. Anybody who doesn't pay the staff, and make sure when you're handing over the money like that, do you pay staff? Do you employ workfare? If not, you take your money back and you go elsewhere. And they'll remember. They'll remember that you didn't spend that money and the reason why you didn't spend the money.
You know, John,
that's the best way of doing it.
Geez, that's so prophetic. That's bizarre. I had an instance of walking out of a shop the other day, but I saw this purchase as being something the other way around. You know, you've all these folk walking around with these 500 quid iPhones and all the rest of it, and I can do the same thing, which I needed to do for the needs of the business and so on. But you know, I can say, if someone said, "What phone's that?" Oh, it's some cheap shite from China. It does everything yours does, and you're spending, you know, hundreds a year on it, and that sort of wakes people up a little bit. You know, they sort of think, well, hang on, how come are you getting away with that? You know, and it's like an article of war. You know, we're in a war situation, and it's ammunition.
It is. It's economic warfare. Because part of what makes it difficult as well is the system of branding, which enables marketplaces to be created that, again, are unnecessary. So, for example, my classic favourite example is Apple. You know, you take Apple. Yeah, it does what it says on the tin, mostly. They're usually okay products. They're not the best. They're not the most excellent most of the time. But they do what it says on the tin. And people like them because they're nicely designed. That's always been the key thing with Apple, is the design. Yeah, they're nicely designed and they do what they're told that they want in life. So this new gadget will do this, that, and the other for you, and that's what you want, isn't it? That's the marketing, yeah. But the brand marketing to capture people into buying a brand enables them to charge fuck a lot more money than the actual value of the item itself. Yeah, another good example is the diamond trade. You know, why do we have such an inflated value on these chunks of compressed carbon? Because there's only a certain amount of uses we can put them to, and wearing them as jewellery, just like all the fashion trade, comes down to you make the price up that you want. Because if you make it desirable enough, people pay the price that you're asking. Yeah. So if people can, again, it's back to awareness. When you're looking at that kind of product that you want to purchase, and you've got to weigh balance it all out, thinking, well, that's just brand gimmickry that they're trying to overcharge me for, and that's so cheap it must be made through exploited labour, or blood diamonds. It's a good example. So I need to find something that's ethically balancing that out if I can. And as John was saying, direct your money towards ethical production companies, people that are producing this stuff as ethically as they possibly can. I know you joked earlier about wearing hemp shorts, but there is a really, really good example of an ethical industry.
Yeah.
I've got hemp sheets.
Don't they itch like fuck, mate?
Like the finer ones.
I've never felt them, so I wouldn't know, mate.
Just like cotton, mate.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I
See,
got,
that as well shows the advancement of applying some more modern technology and processes to an older industry to end up giving us something that obviously is nicer, better.
yeah.
I mean, you've Henry Ford and his hemp car, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, the set of double sheets was, I think it was £2.65.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And they're just like a normal sheet, mate. There's no, I can't tell any difference. Apart from the one.
If you had the land space to do it, and I know there's a lot of arguments out there about how it's not actually totally efficient in the sense of it won't provide everything you need and whatever in terms of energy. But if you had enough land space to grow enough hemp stock, you can use the hemp for so many different things to produce stuff, whether you use it for yourself or sell it. And then the leftover stalks and stuff like that you have left, you burn as fuel. Yeah, and by burning that fuel, you can create energy.
That's why it was stopped in America.
Yeah, that's why it was stamped out here as well, mate, to be replaced by the oil industry and the paper industries and everything as well.
I've seen a lot of cooking lately. Well, I've been watching a lot of documentaries and clips on YouTube about the wood gas.
Oh, yes.
Generators, cars, wagons.
Yeah. Another modern application to an older technology.
Yeah.
I mean, look at distillation of alcohol. I mean, I'd heard it said somewhere that the Model T was originally built for ethanol.
Yeah, ethanol, yeah, it was.
And then it was only the Prohibition came about to eradicate the stills and stop all these people from distilling. And then, that was forcing Ford to convert to petroleum.
Mm-hmm.
Only after really converting the Model T to petrol did the Prohibition drop.
Even though, I mean, referencing Fred Dibner earlier, I think Henry Ford is another really good example on a larger scale in the sense of his corporatism kind of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff like that I disagree with, but what he was really, really good at was that corporation trick of refining down to the most efficient systems, which was why he tried making a hemp car, because in the long run for him, the flow of resources to enable a production line to produce this stuff, etc., was a highly economic way of mass producing these vehicles. But because of all the restrictions, he ended up having to instead make it in the metal version instead.
Right.
Yeah. As well as the ethanol thing, he was looking on the ethanol because again, it could be more efficiently, therefore more economically produced. Yeah. So he was really, really good at doing that kind of refining systems down to end up with an end product.
It was the same with Tesla, wasn't it? Of course, Rockefeller stopped all that.
I think Tesla was much more altruistic. He wasn't so much interested in the money. He just wanted to do it because he understood the concept that the ultimate thing that restricts us, you could say this is my opinion because I'm sure some people may disagree, I feel the ultimate thing that restricts us, each individually and as a whole, is energy. It all comes down to energy, because we know that we can put seeds in the ground and the planet will grow them for us so we can get food. It's everything else beyond that subsistence level the higher levels of technology and development that we've had in this so-called modern civilized age has all been based on the use of energy, how much there is available and who gets to use it.
No.
And Tesla realized that, and he knew that the ultimate trick to free everybody was to make energy freely available.
Mm-hmm.
Always been manpower, you know, ox power, horsepower, internal combustion, you know, steam engines and so on. Any form of motive power has always been the focus of political power or power, you know, in a greater sense. What I'm getting at is that we only get in this country at very, very best at peak summer with a clear sky, when they're not filling the sky full of aluminium and barium, that is, we only get 600 watts per square metre of sunlight. That's the very, very best. And we only get that for the short period. And if you take a solar panel that's all of 12% efficient, you know, you're getting sod all or nothing for free out of the sky. Now, if you boil that right down, that includes plants. You know, even if you grew a load of hemp, you've still only got 600 watts worth of potential energy stored in the bloody plant or in the root. But then you've got time on its hands, so then you have to grow it for a year and so on. So even if you try to grow wood or reeds or something to burn to keep yourself warm, you've converted 600 watts worth of stuff over a year into energy. But we readily take cars out and stop at red lights and break the heat energy away. We're consuming more energy than we receive in sunlight. And all forms of energy, no matter what they are stored forms of sunlight. And that really is the end of the story. Unless you can get fusion or something else where you can take two materials and smush them together and make something else. Other than that, you're screwed.
In general, I agree. I wouldn't say you're screwed. We're screwed in an over-expectation of how much energy we want to consume, yeah? You can't have that much, there ain't enough.
Yeah. I mean, we don't need to be ploughing hundreds of tons of trains. This is one of the night. We don't need hundreds of tons of trains moving around, or, you know, several tons of vehicles. But we've got to be careful not to get into, oh, well, okay, I'll ride a bike everywhere, and then you finish up at Agenda 21 before you're not careful, don't you?
Yeah.
It's quite difficult to plough a way through this bullshit without finding yourself kind of at Agenda 21 or being overly socialist about the whole thing.
Well, isn't that one of the main tricks of those that think they control everything? It's not that they, in general, they don't anyway, but, you know, periods of history they do this, but they don't push us into these situations. They lure people with the ever-present dangling carrots. Yeah. That's why it's called currency, because it helps steer the current of where you want people to go.
Yeah. I mean,
they will present Agenda 21 as what they want to lead us to, but we're the ones actually walking the path. So we can take bits from that would be good and useful and beneficial and go a different direction.
Right, so they're letting us somehow plough the furrows to some extent, you're saying? Not putting words in, is that what you're saying? We're kind of guiding Agenda 21 ourselves?
In this, not that. No. Agenda 21 is what they want to take us to, but they always are in the situation of riding the tiger. They need to attempt to steer us towards that Agenda 21 to the completeness that they want it.
I thought you'd alluded to that they would compromise. You know, maybe I've had too many, but...
You mean change Agenda 21 to suit what we're heading towards?
Yes.
They have to, inevitably, they always have to. I can't remember the exact quote, the most detailed battle plan changes as soon as the first sets foot on the battlefield. Yeah? So they are constantly reassessing their plans, changing things, tweaking things, and their agendas always have multiple possible outcomes, so that if they fail in one area, they'll still benefit in another area.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. And it's quite like the electric car stuff. I mean, I think that the electric car had become a secret they couldn't hide anymore, or whatever. I think it had got to a stage where the technology was becoming obvious.
Dragging it out.
Yeah.
It's another, I said classic a lot this evening. It's another classic thing that they do. they'll drag things out so that they can milk it economically for as long as possible. So they've had this technology for decades, and they've slowly eked it out to the public so that they can commercialize it to the nth degree, compartmentalize it and specialize it to the nth degree so that it creates more marketplaces. For example, modern cars. If you stick to the service regime for a modern car that you bought from new, you have to take it to an official dealer, and in that official dealer there'll be one guy who does one specific job and another guy who does another specific job and another one and another one and another one, yeah? So that each time they create in a new marketplace for that particular area of the parts in your car. It's all part of how they, spread this fucking bullshit economic system into every fucking space it can get into, because then it generates more wealth for them.
Yeah. It's quite cowardly. I mean, they never really come out and say, you can't do that, apart from distillation, of course.
Well, most of the time, yeah.
Saying nothing. That's an example of them. But I think it's quite cowardly in so much that they very rarely come off and block an avenue. They just sort of nudge you away from things. And they give a lot of clues in what they nudge you away from. Cannabis.
In a way, because back to this kind of meme, the meme itself is parasitic in a way. But it's that parasitic method of making the host desire what the parasite actually wants. So a parasite takes over an organism. The organism's original diet was, let's say, lettuce, but the parasite prefers tomatoes. Over a period of time, the parasite will affect, nudge, influence the biology and the taste of the host organism such that it will move to eating tomatoes instead. That's what they do to us constantly.
That's the nudge.
Yeah, that's why the indoctrination in obeying authority and stuff like that, the creation of your reality for you, so that you just accept what they tell you and go the direction they're telling you to.
I think it's interesting. I think we've all seen the death of big oil paradigm, haven't we? I think we're watching it slowly die. I mean, if we were suddenly switched to, the sort of environmentalist Agenda 21 hemp shorts stuff overnight, then we'd finish up, shouting at 4x4 drivers and so on at the side of the road, and anybody who left the lights on past midnight or anything. We're being nudged towards that, but we've not got to that overnight. And I think we're lucky, we're privileged to see the shift from the big oil, fuel-consuming conspiracy kind of thing into a hemp shorts paradigm overnight. We're watching it.
Green fascism.
Green fascism, greenwashing. Yeah, we're seeing this movement. One of the things that woke me up, I went to beforehand, but I went having an electric car, run one and keeping it going. The other thing, I wasn't just pissing around buying some new fucking thing. I had a knackered old bloody Citroen van that I kept going with a bit of shoestring and some duct tape. And and I drove this bloody thing, and it worked. And it carried half a ton on its back. It was awesome. And I drove it to a nearby cinema complex, and they were showing that film with Pete Postlethwaite in, that we ended up flooded and we're all going to die if we didn't stop using plastic paper and crisp packets. What was it called? Anybody remember?
No.
It wasn't actually a mainstream film that came out, and it was Pete Postlethwaite, and he was sort of talking about a dystopian future where there'd be tide levels rising, and only if we'd made these changes. It was set in the future, looking back, saying if we'd made these changes, we could have prevented this, and all the rest of it. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, I went to see the premiere of this greenwashing bullshit, and after I'd come out, there's this woman stood there spouting her green nonsense, and she got me cornered, and I says, well, yeah, I've got an electric car and all this, but weather's, I mean, it's before I knew about geoengineering. I says, well, weather's up, but I don't think we're doing it in the way that we're being told we're doing it. Right. And she I suddenly became a focus of attention, and she was not going to be happy until I'd said what she wanted me to say, or until I'd been convinced of this idea that CFCs or having the wrong sort of cling film were going to cause this situation, and she was not happy. And I said, hang on, I've got this and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Oh yeah, but I'm not interested in that. But and she was desperate that I got this idea across, not what I was doing, not my actions, but that I had the idea in my head that we were causing this situation. And I ended up walking away from her, and that was one of the things that woke me up. I thought, oh, I recognise that the weather's a bit foobar, but that were weird. and it was only really when I started researching that more that it dawned on me that Green movement was very much, coming from the electric car perspective, it was very much infiltrated. This woman absolutely needed me to be on her side before I could walk away. I hope that made sense.
Yes, yeah, it did, mate. Yeah. I think a lot of people have been having those kind of encounters with those kind of militant, politically correct rule followers, because it's really what they are. They get told that it is this way by the government, so you got the whole global warming, whatever, and then everybody goes around and starts peer pressuring each other to self-police themselves, self-police your own society, saying, oh, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that. Think about the way that you've had, being a smoker myself, the social engineering leper effect done to anyone who smokes. Well, yeah, I can remember far enough back that pubs used to have an already socially accepted and practiced segregation. You'd have a smoking room and you'd have a separate room where there was no smoking.
Yep.
Yeah? And when you went to the pub, you'd be like, oh, I'm a smoker, I'm going in the smoking room. Yeah? And people just did it, and it was the way the pubs worked. And then they had to bring in the political correct rule book to say you can't smoke, and then you can't smoke in the building at all. Then you got to walk 50 yards down the road before you can smoke. All this shit.
Yeah,
and then people start bitching at each other about it. So we're forced to self-police us. Well, we're nudged to self-police ourselves on that kind of shit. That's social engineering.
It's the ultimate piss take, making you stand outside in the rain, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turning you into lepers. That's what I call it. It is the leper effect. And it's not just smoking, they do it with various things, and the green agenda is a good example of it.
But I felt quite dirty, having had an electric car and been quite pro this. But in terms of my problem, the way I came to it was because I had a problem with, if you look at a conventional car, it's got a 30% efficient prime mover.
Hi, Kendo.
Hi, Kendo.
Hi, boys.
Hello.
And a clutch that to generate any torque, you've got to slide two plates together, and then you've got to push some bloody cogs around a gearbox to make the bloody thing move. It's fucking retarded. So that's how we go around making ourselves move about. That's stupid. If you take an electric motor, it can go from 0 to 100 miles an hour with it, the same amount of torque and a dead flat level of performance. And that was shunned, and I thought, I can't understand why that would not be the thing. As an engineer, it made sense. And that was where I was coming from. But I was made to feel dirty afterwards, thinking, shit, I've been advocating electric cars for all these years, and now I find myself on the side of the green fascists.
Well, we're still working our way through all this stuff, mate.
Sorry about that. Battery's over, so I can open my windows, open my doors, and put a top on. It's all gone quiet now in the surrounding area.
They passed curfew time. Is it 1:30?
Yeah. Just saying it, that doesn't usually bother them. Usually on until late at night, but quite surprised it's over.
It's the only passed out women.
They're too young, mate. There's only
right, that's why you didn't go tonight. I'm with you.
yeah, it was. I think he's only about 15.
Well, say hello to Kendo there anyway. Ken, I need to get you a private message at some point. I have a little present for you.
Nice one. I look forward to it, my friend.
You'll have to PM me or something on YouTube or something. We'll get in touch somehow.
I'm struggling with all this software business at the moment. I've been trying to comment on the live stream all the way through Kip's show and all the way through this, but it keeps coming up saying, please remove HTML tags.
That's what I was getting.
And I've been around all the settings everywhere, and I'm trying to work out what's going on. But eventually, I thought, well, I'll post one with nothing in it, so it changes that title. And I did that, and it came in the box. You put nothing in the box. So I reset the page, and I just wrote hi, and that message came through. But I tried to write another message after that, but that was remove HTML tags. So it's playing games.
Well, I've dropped out the Firefox and gone on to Google for the Hangout, for the live feed. And we got some feedback coming from somewhere, haven't we?
I can hear something.
Yeah. How are you anyway, Kendall?
I'm all right, mate. I'm fine. I've just been listening to the shows with Kip last night and again tonight, and yeah, I'm up with what you're saying. Going it down to a local level again, I've noticed that the bailiffs in Manchester were too embarrassed to even comment, let alone anything else. So that's another win in the local battle.
I was gutted about that. I didn't know about it. It's only up the road for me as well.
Yeah.
Shamed out of there. Shamed out of there.
Yeah.
I know a good few people who turned up and stuff, but it's there's a few reasons why I don't get involved in that type of stuff, because even as you see there, you think everyone's sorted to do there. There's undercover coppers there.
Oh yeah.
Not trust me, it's undercover coppers, and I don't go anywhere near undercover coppers unless they're walking down the street and I go, are you an undercover copper? You know what I mean? I had one at the top of the street the other day. We've got like an alleyway where all drugs are dealt with, where they deal drugs and stuff, and there was a guy stood at the top, or he stood out like a sore thumb. I was like, are you an undercover? Like, oh, he just disappeared. He just disappeared. But yeah, no, I don't go near him. Don't go near him. Everything's infiltrated.
They don't like the cover board. You can spot them a mile away, can't you? They just look totally out of place.
I mean, you were talking about Cliff Richard earlier, and I was trying to post a message and it wasn't having it. Because I've been keeping an eye on that situation.
Crack on.
I don't know. The other night I posted a video that I found on Facebook, and it was Jimmy Savile and the Ninth Circle.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, seen that.
Yeah, Kitty was in there. And I've been sort of not in with, but like watching Pie and Mash films for quite a while now, and trying to keep an eye on the situation. And Cliff might plead his innocence, and I agree with what was said earlier about all these characters from children's TV, or from when we were kids. All these supposed nice people appearing on TV, and all of a sudden we find out they're into all sorts of this, that, and the other. Well, I remember Cliff Richard as a brill-creamed, hairstyled rock and roller. Started on Ready Steady Go or some other show that was on a Saturday tea time. But not all the time did anyone realise in the background that Cliff Richard had been groomed by somebody called Lord Boothby, and obviously in the parliamentary clique, and I think He's also mentioned in dispatches on that Operation Fernbridge, which is all about the Elm Guest House. And he regularly signed in there as Kitty. That's where all this Kitty stuff's come from. So he's been in and around the environment for quite some time. And if you think he's got an eye to Jimmy Savile, you know, it all fits in. It's all a bit deep and nasty and dirty and dark. But there's no good in raving about his innocence, is it? So if you're innocent of actually doing that, you're also not innocent of a lot of other things. You're guilty of harbouring this information in your mind. You're guilty of helping those other people like yourself, keeping it all undercover and letting it and allowing it to carry on and on and on. And it's you can't say you're innocent. Why have you given back your British nationality and gone Barbadian? Quite rightly, James, they haven't got an extradition treaty, so no one can touch you there. But police aren't forensically searching your property in Yorkshire if nothing happened. You know.
Didn't they all say, you know, from Stuart Hall to Rolf Harris?
Yeah.
Oh,
Max
yeah, we've not
Clifford.
done that. Not done that, Max Clifford. Not done that. No, we're innocent.
Guilty by association, if nothing else.
Well, if you're a friend of fucking Prince Charles, you're the wrong one in my book.
Yeah. The man who can't say yes always comes out as ears. Ears. Can't say yes. You can't say yes. Yes. Is that right, Your Majesty? Yes. But, you know, something's got to give, because people are like, there's more and more people all the time now sort of questioning what's going on. You know, there's something wrong. What's happening?
It said something's got to give, Ken. No, it just said there something's got to give. It went with me at the Iraq War. That's when it stopped for me. Everybody, because I disagreed with that totally at the time. I knew what was going on and seen right through it, obviously, from 9/11 onwards. But after that, no policeman, nobody on this planet is above or below me. I'm just me. I'm the same as everybody else. Nobody can tell me what to fucking do. And that's it. I've just kept it like that ever since. Ever since. I've luckily stayed out of a lot of trouble. It's if you end up with trouble, it's one of them.
Yeah, harping back to the eviction thing, there's a chap in Nottingham who's refusing to pay his council tax until the local council start owning up to what's been going off with the Beechwood Children's Home thing. And they've actually put him in prison once, and they're coming for him again. I'm waiting for that notification to come up, because he's quite rightly saying, look, you know, you lot are shitting on us left, right and centre. You've got this giant fucking dildo and you're ramming it up every fucking arse across the country, or almost everyone. Oh, we've rumbled you, and people are now beginning to protest, but you're still believing that it's one little individual here and there. But I don't know. I've got to stop saying that. I don't know. But
they're just throwing these people to the wolves, these ones, these celebrities.
You know, that guy's got a genuine reason to turn around to his council and say, I'm questioning what you're doing with that money that I'm giving you. I'm questioning it because all of a sudden Nottingham City Council's got a $250,000 price tag on it that somebody's got to pay for them to cover up paedophilia. And abuse of children that are supposedly in their care, because you know if they put in a council children's home, somebody who's registered with the council has got to be the ward for that kid. And in court, at the end of the day, Nottingham City Council or the County Council have to take the rap for that because they're responsible, because they're in their care. and what you've been doing, and why have the police been covering it up? And it was so £250,000 of council tax money has been spent keeping people shut up. And if that's in Nottingham, it's all over the country. And so how many millions of pounds has been wasted keeping the lid on all this lot?
When this Jimmy Savile story broke about the nonces, about the care homes and stuff like that, I've got a friend who went through the care home systems in the 70s, in the early 80s, through the Borstals and the care homes. Right little tearaway he was, from a very, very early age, from a whatever sort of family. But I asked him, I said, what was it like in them care homes and in them Borstals for the young lads in the early days? And he went, this is how it was. He said, I was lucky, I was streetwise. He said, what happened was when you turned up, no matter how many was on the bus, he said they'd pinpoint the weakest or the most vulnerable, but you'd thought it was for care. He was graded in terms of vulnerability, and he says you didn't. The most vulnerable, they'd disappear. He says you never see them. They disappear. They get took. You never see them again. He says I was lucky. He said I had people getting molested in the bed next to me. He said, but I was lucky. It was streetwise. I'd go and hide and shit like he knew what he was doing. He said, but yeah, it was rife. It was targeted. They targeted you on the most vulnerable. It was systematic. But lucky streetwise.
You can't comprehend what goes on in the mind of a child who's been put into care, taken away from a parent or parents for whatever reason. You just can't. It's hard to go there and imagine a speck of what they've gone through. So really, I don't know. I'm saying it again. I just think that somehow we've got to keep plugging this and keep reminding those out there that we haven't forgotten. But how we do that, and how we get some action without individuals taking the rap for what everybody's thinking, i.e. the guy who's about to lose his house because he refuses to give up council tax to people covering up for paedophiles. But in actual fact, he's doing the right thing in many ways. Like any of us who like cough up income tax or anything, if we were to actually make them say to us, I'm giving you this money, but what are you doing with it? You're like giving weapons to terrorists. You're creating false flags to create a mindset in people, and you're abusing kids and doing it institutionally behind our backs. Why should I give you anything? But all that'll happen is you'll get, 2 months, 6 months, 3 months, whatever, in jail. Yeah, it's a bit of a quietener, that one, but
that's cheered me up.
I've not looked at the chat box. I don't know what they're saying, but
it seems to keep sticking every now and then. It's probably part of all the fucking technical issues that there's been, whatever.
Yeah.
Have you got anybody who you might think is the next one to get arrested, Ken? If you're going to do a sweepstake, what would you throw your money on? Allegedly, obviously.
I'd like to think it was Leon Britton, but I think it's got to start coming home to Parliament that they've got to stop it. They've got to put a block on it. I think one thing that will come home is as we get close to the general election, people have got to declare who are standing for various constituencies. And it's been said somewhere on the net that Ben Fellows is going to stand as an independent in Ken Clarke's constituency. That one will rattle a few cages, won't it?
What do you reckon about that going forward?
And I'm half tempted to sort of go on volunteer to go knock on a few doors in Rushcliffe area and and help the guy out, try and get a few votes, you know.
Yeah.
But I think anybody who's putting himself up like that is got to draw attention. To
Is Ben not at the country?
I think he's in Spain somewhere, but these are his intentions. The last I saw, anyway.
We spoke to him down at Melbourne.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I think somebody higher up has got to make up the mind enough is enough. And, you know, there's got to be a judge somewhere that says, look, you know, I'm capable of dealing with this and I'll deal with it. But whether or not there is one, other than that, you know, it's a common law court job, isn't it? You know, but they don't seem to be taking much notice of common law in an effort to override it with this European Napoleonic bullshit. You know, you're guilty of everything until proved otherwise.
Right.
You know, and that.
Exactly the opposite of what we've got. Well, it's supposed to have.
You are guilty of existing.
Exactly. Get a challenge just to exist, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I think it's because you're saying about like keeping people informed. I think the other thing as well is constantly trying to remind people that it's not historical. And so I only saw the headline about Cliff Richard this afternoon, I think it was, or yesterday. And the way it was worded was he was being investigated for historical allegations. And that was the thing to me, is that deliberately inserted that word historical to make you think it's in the past, it's gone, it's over and done with now, so it's not happening now, it's not happening now. And that's what they keep trying to make the public think. You know, that's why they keep dragging out these aged actors and celebrities and whatever, so that the public thinks, oh, it was in the past before my generation. Because for the main voting demographic, a lot of it is before their generation, or they would have been so young that they don't remember the height of these people's careers. Yeah, it's mainly the older people that remember the height of their careers and just how much effect they had on the population.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, man.
Yeah, I think it is important, that historical thing. Remind people it's not historical; it's still going on there.
Going on. Yeah, of course, still going on.
You've got to think back as well, wherever the BBC were involved, where loads and loads of kids were getting interactive with the BBC people, and you got to think, like, well, you know, I used to watch Crackerjack, and like, who's that guy who used to look Crush a Grape?
Crankies.
Well, you know, when you say the Crankies, man, it makes you wonder, because one was dressed like a kid. It makes you wonder whether.
Yeah, it was blatantly in front of you, wasn't it?
a female, adult female dressed as a male child.
Yeah.
That was his partner. Yeah.
Jimmy.
Yeah. With your head.
Which makes you wonder what kind of fantasies they had for the other thing, you know.
It's right, when you think back, it was so blatantly put in front of you, wasn't it? It was, what they say, I can't remember that saying now.
It's amazing people were surprised about Freddie Mercury being gay when he died.
Yeah.
What was the band called again?
Queen.
Tight Pants.
Falsetto voices.
That Butch Freddie and that big Butch Freddie.
With his bristle broom moustache.
Yeah, moustache and that.
The Blue Oyster Cult, that was.
Oh yeah, he was banging to that one.
I think there was years ago, the Secret Policeman's Ball, and Peter Cook was playing the part of a judge, and I forget who he was. Forget who he was committing a sentence to at the time, but there was another bit of in language came out. Self-confessed player of the pink oboe, you know, and also a self-confessed chewer of pillows. And that came out on an album from the Secret Policeman's Ball back in the 70s. So they got their own language. Even when you think of, I don't know whether any of you've seen over the last couple of years, there's been this revival of Round the Horn, and they were doing things on BBC 4 on the telly, like a whole show of what it was like with Kenneth Horne and Kenneth Williams and one or two other characters. And they had one bit where there'd be always a little sketch with a couple of characters called Julian and Sandy, and they all spoke in this this particular language that they had in Soho, and you know, it was how gay people communicated in those days, and it was like a weird language. And Kenneth Horne was always the director, and these two always used to say to him, like, "Oh, he's a bona prod. He's like a bona fide producer, but at the same time, he's a bona prod as well."
Instead of drawing a fish in the
So it was this.
draw
The whole half hour of radio was double entendre, and you know, you either got on the double entendre or not. And then it was banned for a while, and so many listeners.
It was Carry On mixed in with that. Was the Carry
Yeah,
On?
yeah,
films,
yeah.
You know, Charles Archery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ooh, misses and all that shit.
I remember one sketch. It was Charles and Fiona, and you get the impression that this is from some like black and white film, and she goes, "Oh, Charles," and all he ever does is go, "Oh, Fiona," and she says, "Was it hard at the front?" And he goes, "Yes." "And how about at the side?" "Yes." She says, "Well, I'll try to make a better job of your haircut this time." But that was the kind of humour you were trying to give an impression that they were he'd suffered at the front, but really he was having a haircut, you know. I know it's old humour, boys, but in the days it used to have, my old man and woman used to be tittling, giggling their heads off at some of the stuff that came on this programme. But that was all in its day in the 60s. Double entendre, and you know, I would imagine there were people from then who knew what was going on, because they all came from that stable, didn't they?
So you reckon they had this secret lingo, and the names on the door are all sort of tied in with it, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
That kind of way you're going with it. It's from top to bottom anyway, from the very, very top.
So it's going to be like it's going to be like getting rid of a tick, isn't it? To get rid of it.
Yep.
Gonna need some fucking serious cigar.
Yeah, if you're not using a decent, proper tick remover these days, you leave a bit in and you get a bad infection and Lyme's disease, which basically just drives your life into the ground. And socially, I think we've got ticks in sort of all sorts of areas of the world. You know, there's one in Palestine that's infected quite a lot of the world. We've got ticks everywhere, and we need to get rid of the ticks, and we need a good tick remover. And we had one at one time, but I think we've all forgotten as a people how to remove ticks. You know, sort of allegorically looking at it in your way, John. You know, we need a tick remover.
I like that, but I think the planets and the universe are going to line something up. I just watch me clock by the universe, me nowadays, by nature. Nature will take care of this. If, humanity's gone to fucking shit for my book after what I've seen lately. You know what I mean? No wonder I want to go to the woods with Kia, just me and her, and go and, make fire with mushrooms and that. But there is this. I like that tick thing, and it's everywhere. I've been to the City of London and Westminster and stuff like that. You can feel it down there. It's like being near Mordor. It's very, very like that when you get down there.
Yeah, we in the day back in the 80s, we did a job down there, and I'm glad we did what we did. Now, some of them went out on the piss, and some of us went up on the roof and had a spliff, listened to a bit of music, and we were doing this job for the American Tobacco Company, and it was Stornoway House, and St James's Palace is like next door. And we got some of the Queen Mother was living there then, and every hour they'd change the guard and walk across. We'd lean over the balcony, and they got them bear hats on, Grenadier Guards, and we were like spitting on them, doing a seeing who could hit them on the hats, and they're not allowed to move, they're not allowed to do anything, poor buggers, and we would bang on target some nights as well, So what they were thinking, walking below, the bastards are on the balcony again. Splat on his hat. And he's got to go and get it ready for the, when he's done this guard duty, he's got to look at his uniform, make sure it's ready for the next one. So, splat.
Good on you.
Yeah, some nights there'd be about 4 or 5 of us up there going, fucking got him, waiting for a reaction, And when we went out in the morning, we used to walk past them and go, evening, don't look up, boys, whatever you do. And then no reaction whatsoever. And good on them for standing there doing that, but for the Queen and country, well, toy soldiers, man. But yeah, that was a moment. But,
standing on that gate all day like that.
Yeah.
Bad enough doing stags.
Yeah. Imagine some, you get some twat with a camera coming in front of you going like that. Just trying for a reaction,
I don't react me at all. It's mad. And when they do that, it's 2 steps forwards and I forgot the word for it now. Weapon to hand.
When it was hot a couple of weeks ago, someone tweeted a picture of one of them stood there sweating. Sweat dripping down his eyes and that. I'm like, wow, I can't believe he stood there in 30 odd degree heat and stuff. But,
if I don't know if it's possible to Google it, but there's the one I've seen that's got the most amount of bullshit attached to it. There's a couple actually. There's them Greek guards that guard the Vatican, who wear the skirts and the shoes with the big bubbles on the toes. I don't know whether you've seen the ceremony that every time they change guard, man. That's hilarious. That is. And then the other one is the guards that are on the Eternal Flame in Moscow. They go through a bit of a ceremony. And
what's the Khyber Pass one at the Khyber Pass? Between India and Pakistan. You seen that one, Ken? Where they open the gates and the two sets of soldiers on the gates perform a dance to each other. And you get all the crowd lining up, for each side, Pakistan and India, and it's all very.
The uniforms is very similar.
The uniforms, but quite, colour. Only the most talented guys do it and stuff like that. It's impressive, really impressive.
It's almost worth going to the Khyber Pass to watch it.
What are you going to say then?
It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. Don't worry about it. It's on YouTube. Just type it in.
Yeah.
I just said they're two different armies, regiments, whatever, but their uniforms are very, very similar. That's probably why there's that confusion between. There's some that do it at the Vatican. I can't remember the name of either of them, and then there's another lot that do it at the Khyber Pass. The main thing is the tassels on their shoes and the way they do the like frog march. Silly walk. It's fucking Monty Python silly walk, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. It's very reminiscent of the two comedians that used to do the Egyptian sand dance.
Oh, aye.
Wearing the feathers. You can remember that one, James?
Yes, aye. I can't even remember who it is now.
No, I can't remember who it is, but it was, this business.
Aye, I can't remember.
And the part of the ceremony was they got about a pouch and they'd like chuck a couple of hands full of sand down on the stage before they did it. But
the kid on that saying that.
Yeah. It's a big, tall, skinny guy who always looked like he just shit his pants. And, and another guy, and they did it together. It was just the way they moved across the stage. It was just so funny. But, yeah. That's what the Vatican one reminds me of, is the Egyptian sand dance. The one I've seen in Moscow, that's all about having stiff legs and seeing how far in the air you can cock them up without falling over, and standing there with your arm across your chest, and and those guys stand still; they don't even wobble, and they're in all weathers. I've seen them in spring, summer, and winter. And in winter, fucking hell, they must be wrapped up, man. Like some of the temperatures.
What? They don't wear thermal underpants, just drink lots of vodka.
Watching the recently.
Under the hat, straight into their arm.
I was watching the guard at the Queen's birthday recently, and I remember thinking what a shower of shit they were compared to what they used to be. They used to be absolutely cock on down the line. You could see, watching them march round even corners, you could see them cock on straight line. All right, shower of shit, these days.
As I was a kid growing up, there used to be a program every year called the Tournament, and this tournament at Olympia, and it was all the services, and obviously because my old man was in the army for 12 years, we had to watch this, and it's that thing where at one part the Navy and the Army battled together to dismantle a field gun and take it over with a limber in bits on a rope and a pulley. And it used to be on every year, and it stopped. They stopped putting it on, and the only other thing that we've seen since that stopped going on is the Edinburgh Tattoo, and everybody every year used to watch that program and the Edinburgh Tattoo because it had got most of the people in the country had served in the forces.
When I was young, they used to do a gun run near me. They used to do a gun run, and some of the local lads used to do it. And they was fucking massive. They was all massive lads and that. Yeah. But their hands and their arms were always injured. They're always breaking their arms and stuff like that, and their wrists. Yeah. But yeah, they used to do the gun run. Oh, they was fit lads then, proper fit lads.
Yeah. Sorry. In competitions, they still do.
Do they?
Yeah. They're not. It went to one stage where they did actually televise it, but they've stopped televising it again. But they do actually still go on, where they do all the dismantling of the old cannons and everything, and they take them.
Oh, right, I've seen that. Dean.
They're still do it, but it's mainly the sports side has taken over it now on the inter-battalion and inter-forces thing.
Yeah.
Where it's mainly like your football and your rugby and things like that. Yeah. Do fishing as well. We have,
It used to be like I'm sure it was an RAF dog team.
Yeah.
And then you get the RAF regiment come on, start chucking rifles about like they were, sticks. And they would show you how everything, like you're talking about in straight lines, everything's dead regimented. And then you get the Tibetan guys, the one who carried the machetes. What were they called?
Gurkhas.
Yeah, the Gurkhas. They were at the double everywhere. Everything at the double. That was amazing. But you don't see that anymore. I don't think that they think that we're into Queen and country anymore.
Do you
'Cause
remember
we're not.
You Bet in the 80s, where you get the squaddies turn up with an air-prepared Land Rover on a pallet? I remember this, and they take the thing off the pallet, shove the engine in, shove the doors on, shove the wings on, and drive the thing off. And they had to do it in like, I don't know what it was, 2 a minute something, get this thing rolling out. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it did instill that pride into it. And my uncle was an RSM, and it's, for all I'm not exactly pro-war by any means, I think having absolute pride and discipline is an amazing thing, and to see it orchestrated in that fashion, to see men working. Now all we have as a substitute for that is Formula One. We've just got a fella. It's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can't take national pride in that, of course.
No, we used to have the motorcycle display team.
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
With the pyramid. And the pyramid.
Yeah.
But it's only got what's it left now, haven't they? Oh shit, what are they called? Red Arrows. Are they still about?
They are still about, but they're based in bloody Portugal or somewhere.
You're joking?
Well, I watched something, believe it or not, recently, and they were saying that they actually did the flight training, the final exam from an airport. I think it was in Portugal or somewhere in Europe. It wasn't Lincolnshire, but they did have a base in Lincolnshire as well.
Yeah.
Whether or not they fly from over there, I don't know, but they certainly did their exams over there. Made me think.
Did they know do the flyby for the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow? Was that just?
Did they?
Yeah. I know they did the Tour de France. I don't know about that.
All that taxpayers' money.
What's that?
All that taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
Tell you what, Tour de France. I'll say it. I'm from Leeds, where I'm at, and it was Agenda 21, absolute cut and dried was Tour de France for us. They pretty much closed the city off, and they even did it the day before. They had a float, some sort of a parade, and the Tour de France cyclists didn't want to do it neither. That's what I'm told. But they closed most of the city off just to parade the cyclists through the middle of the city. And they actually, I was using Google Maps and the various radios that are dotted around my lab here, and I was listening into what they were talking about. I could hear them over the radio, no problem. And they closed the city off using the outer ring road and the inner ring road as a loop, so that effectively the traffic has closed itself off, if that makes any sense. The route of the traffic round as a circle. So the inner ring road closed the outer ring road off. And it was, the city was under quarantine for 2 or 3 days.
You're just a little low, Ivan.
Oh, sorry.
I'll turn you up as much as I can on my side, and I noticed lots of it was struggling a little bit as well.
I was trying to hold my earphones into my ears to hear them.
I'll see if I've got any more.
Any more power? Only elite. You'll get all the power you want.
Let's have a fiddle here. Yeah, I'm just saying, Agenda 21, Tour de France, bosh. That's more or less it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be off, guys. I'm going to say goodnight. I'll catch you over the weekend, probably.
Yeah. No problem.
All right, Cookie.
Same here, guys.
Thanks for your insight.
Thanks you all in the chat room and everything. Thanks for the chat, guys. Good speaking to you. Take care all.
And you, mate. Thanks a lot, buddy. Night.
I'm going to, guys. I'll catch you all later.
Yeah, I would say,
Alright, John.
I'll call it a night, and we can have a bit of a chat back. Thanks for everyone in the chat room. We'll call it a night. Now we're getting a little dry, so we'll possibly be having another one either tomorrow or Sunday. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you soon. Good night.
Cheers, thanks.